This is the segment where we put somebody in the doghouse for their performance or lack thereof. Who are you putting in the doghouse? Nate, we'll start with you, and why?
Yeah, regrettably, it's got to be Danny Rick if we're staying true to what this segment's about. And I feel really bad doing that because, I just think he's spiraling. His form's really, it's kind of tough to watch at the moment. Spoke to him on the Sunday evening and just kind of, in that mix zone that I mentioned, and asked him, has this triple header mentally been quite draining for him? He's put a really brave face on. I think he's actually handled things pretty well, pretty admirably. But he said, I think to paraphrase what he said, it was, I'm not superhuman. I'd be naive to think that all of this hasn't had an impact on me. So you're talking about a guy that was already struggling for form, and he's had this, this massive kind of, he's it's public that he's lost, not driving at McLaren next year. All the questions with it, kind of, all the pressure that comes with where's he going to be next year. So it's a really tough situation for him to be in. And yeah, I just I hope he can find something at Monza. Obviously, he's coming back to a place where he won last year. I don't know whether it will, trigger something in him, and he might be able to find, I don't know, a return to form. But it does feel like he just needed a few more weeks of the summer break, because I think getting back to racing was probably the worst thing for him. So yeah, as I said, regrettably, it's got to be Danny Rick.
Through that conversation, did you get a sense, we could see this driver take a step away for a little bit and regather himself before coming back?
Yeah, it's really difficult to read him at the moment. Laurence and I both went to his press session on Thursday at Zandvoort, which is media day that precedes the weekend. Sunday night, he wasn't really talking about it, but he said that he kind of wants to get this triple header out of the way, and then he'll make a decision. But he's increasingly talking about taking next year off and 2024 being when he comes back. And I think that realistically that, that's probably possibly the best option now. It depends how much you rate, his chances if he went to Haas. I love the idea of him at Haas, him and Gunther Steiner together, him and Magnussen at the same team. But, I can see why he'd be skeptical about that. You're talking about the team that traditionally is seen as the smallest team on the grid. And does that help your career if you go there and you're finishing last every weekend? So I think he's really, I don't think he knows what he wants to do next year. And I think that's also adding to this situation that he's in. But yeah, it's difficult to read. And I think he's very good at putting on a brave face. He's good at, making a joke of a question, or kind of, having a laugh about something. And that can be quite an easy or quite a safe defense mechanism, for when you're feeling pretty down. So I don't think we'll know until after Monza. But I think the sooner we do, that maybe it will give him some clarity, give him some closure, and maybe he can kind of just see this end of the season as right. This is kind of to rebuild the reputation and then go into whatever it is he chooses to do next year. But hopefully, whatever it is, it's not the end of Daniel Ricciardo's F1 career this year, because I think that'd be a really sad way for it to end.
I agree. Laurence, who are you putting in the doghouse?
I think I could just copy and paste Nate's answer. The only thing I'd add is that if
don't
you look
put
at
him in there by himself. Give him somebody to hang out with.
There's the Ferrari tire man can go in there.
Nah, again, I feel sorry for the Ferrari tire man. I don't think.
But he's got to. He may no, but still, he can go in. He's got to.
Well, but you can put him in as your secondary. I've got a few other potential candidates as well. So Daniel Ricciardo, I mean, where went wrong the whole weekend, because Friday didn't look too bad, and where went wrong was Saturday qualifying, and it was Lance Stroll who went off in ahead of him, brought some gravel onto the track, and it ruined both Ricciardo's lap and Vettel's lap and put them at the back of the grid. And then on a track like Zandvoort, you just can't go anywhere from the back of the grid. It's really hard to overtake. It's really hard to pass, especially in that McLaren, which isn't really the best with straight line speed. So I think he was finding it difficult to make any progress whatsoever. So that's my kind of like little kind of upsides of Daniel Ricciardo's weekend, is that it wasn't entirely his fault, being on the track at that time when the gravel's on the last corner, and otherwise the lap was looking good enough to make it through to Q2 is something. So the other guy as well, I just mentioned there, Vettel had a pretty poor weekend relative to Stroll. We talked about how good Stroll's was. Well, Vettel's wasn't great. And then also, if you remember in the race, he did that bit where he blocked Lewis, came out of the pits and blocked Lewis for a couple of laps as Lewis had just got past Perez and was penalised for that. And I think for a guy, who consistently during his time at the front of the grid would moan about other drivers not having blue flags, it seemed a bit rich that he was then the guy who nearly kind of got in the way of Lewis's race. And of course, again, I think there was a little bit of all of us that just wanted to see Lewis make the progress, because we knew that if he got enough performance, enough pace in that car, he could potentially challenge Max and would have this great battle for victory. So it was, kind of selfish, just wanting Vettel to get out of the way. So I'm going to stick Vettel. A long answer, isn't it, for a way to get there? But I'm going to stick Vettel in there with Danny Ric because, again, the performance wasn't where it should have been compared to the teammate. Not quite as bad as Daniel's. And then also that blue flag incident, given everything he used to say about drivers not ignoring blue flags when he used to be at the front.
And I will stick the Ferrari guy in there with them because they can all speak Italian. So, they can chat together in there. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. There you go. There's three of them in there chatting.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.